Are you in this election?
Yes, I am voting.
Do you have a PVC card?
Yeah.
Why are you not voting there?
Actually, because things that is going on in Nigeria now are confused.
I would like to vote, but the issue is this. I collected my PVC in Port Harcourt, and due to my job transfer, I found myself in Lagos.
I will vote for my stomach because I'm hungry. I will vote for my stomach.
Good evening, Nigerians. You're welcome to a very, very special edition of your program, Towards a Greater Nigeria. For almost 30 years, we have featured successive heads of state, presidents, honorable ministers, state governors, distinguished members of the National Assembly, the legislature, if you're talking of National Assembly, and of course, the judiciary. So you wonder, who is Omotayo talking to today? Elections are fast approaching, and we decided to go to the most cosmopolitan state, not only in Nigeria, but in the entire Africa. So to start with, we are looking at the governorship candidate and the deputy governorship candidate of APC. I recall I had the singular privilege of speaking with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in year 2000. And all that he said had to do with consistency, continuity, and a big vision that could be achieved if there is unity. From him, he handed over to Raji Fashola, from Raji to Ambode. And Ambode now, we have that gentleman that says, I can do the job. That's actually the way to put it. I'll leave it for you to judge when you listen to him. But please welcome those gentlemen that simply we call BOS, Babajide Sanwoolu.
Such a very, very intimidating opening remark. Thank you so very much for having us on your program.
You're welcome, my brother. And of course, closely working with him is a gentleman that we also simply call Kadri Obafemi Hamzat, Dr. Hamzat. You're welcome, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me too.
You're welcome. My very first question, Babajide Sanwoolu. Can you tell Nigerians, not just Lagosians now, because the program is all over Nigeria, can you tell Nigerians what makes you feel I can do the job?
We believe that the conversation around taking Lagos, our Lagos, your Lagos, to a greater height, stands with how we have also developed as human beings. Over 30 years ago, when I left university, I've had the real privilege to have worked about 17 years in the private sector and about 13 years, in the public sector. So meaning that both experiences comes to bear today. On the private sector side, I have been treasurers of 3 different banks. I had run the balance sheet of banks. I had helped people to create wealth and to manage wealth, right? So I left the banking industry in 2002 as a general manager. First was to be appointed a special advisor at a very humble school. Yes. And very quickly, I was in that regime till the end of 2007, and also with BRF up until 2011. So first, I became a special advisor to the deputy governor, then subsequently to the governor. Then I was acting commissioner for economic planning and budget. Then I became commissioner for commerce and industry. We ended Asiwaju's tenure. In BRF's first time, I was commissioner for establishment, training, and pension. So that put together about 9 years, right? So I left because I felt also we need to also find out what's happening on the private sector side. So I went back into the private sector and I was involved in the privatization, PHN privatization. I was extensively very involved in it. And I also got myself involved in a lot of real estate development, property development, and also civil society and NGOs. I begin to give back to my community in terms of training, mentorship, developing people, but of course still remaining as a quasi-politician even at that. And so in 2016, the current governor, Governor Obafemi Hamzat, also called on me and asked me to come and run the foremost biggest property company in Lagos State, which is the LSTPC, as a managing director, chief executive. So I had the opportunity to have run that office for 2 years, up until September last year, when I emerged, in October as the gubernatorial candidate for APC. So the question you've asked is that what makes me feel that we can do the job? It's very simple. Not a lot of people will come with that resume, right? I've worked in Niger Delta. I've done a startup company. I've worked in finance. I've run the civil service, the entire civil service. I know the geography of the state very well. We know what the issues are in the state, having worked there at various levels. There's been several policies and programs that have been involved with directly and as a team member. I've had the consultancy board. I've been all throughout members of the state tenders board, right? So from policy initiative to policy execution to also managing the people that are meant to be implementers, I've run the whole gamut. And on the private sector side, I have also worked with the highest that you can imagine, yes, as a general manager in a bank, running the balance sheet, understanding what investment truly really is. How can you bring about positive development, encouraging foreign direct investment, encouraging the private sector to listen to you. First in commerce and industry, where it gives me the opportunity to work with all sorts of manufacturing companies, including development of the Lekki Free Trade Zone, as a staff and training, overseeing the pension, overseeing the civil service, as it were, and budget, taking Lagos budget, defending it in the House of Assembly. So all of this combination, I believe, that one is well suited, right, and humbly so, because it's God that has also given this opportunity. That at this point in time, what we require in Lagos is somebody that has the skill, that has the experience, that has the energy to be able to take the 5th largest economy in Africa to a level that becomes an enviable position for all of us to see. And I'm not the only one in this race, right? You've introduced Dr. Hamzat. Yes. Between the two of us, we've got over 25 years in the public service. He has a PhD, in systems engineering. Haven't finished his first degree in University of Ibadan, right? We poached him. When I say we, because I joined government slightly before him. He had worked in Morgan Stanley, Citibank in New York, in and out of Nigeria. And so he came back to Nigeria as the chief technical officer with Orlando before he became the commissioner for science and tech, overseeing all of the developments during Ashwaju's tenure of all of the things we're doing on the education side, on the technology, bringing about, our Oracle database. That was something that we couldn't fully implement, at that day, and putting Lagos on a technologically driven environment. He also became commissioner for works and infrastructure. So a position that he oversees, the entire infrastructure issues, of the state. And finally, he also had a unique opportunity to have been a special advisor to the Minister, of Works, Housing, and Power. So look at those resumes
and the combination.
Together. So we're hitting the ground running from day one, and that's what we're about in Lagos. That's the energy that we require, And so we're happy to tell Nigerians, all your teaming viewers that we will be seeing developments as the next to none in Lagos, and that's what we're promising.
Nigerians will be happy to see that
absolutely
materialize. Thank you, Mr. Sanwoolu. I'll go to gentleman, your deputy, to tell us a little more about yourself, Dr. Hamzat. Nigerians are watching.
I have a PhD in systems engineering from Cranfield University after having my bachelor's and master's from University of Ibadan. And after that, I went to the United States of America. I've worked with the city of New York. I worked with Citibank. I worked with Merrill Lynch. And I was a vice president of operations. And I also worked with Morgan Stanley, where we believed then that we were the foremost financial system in the world because we have offices in 7 continents. And I headed the team that actually deploys software across the 7th continent from New York. So we have this experience, and I came down to Orlando to become the group head of IT strategy. And we were implementing Oracle in Orlando, and then Lagos State wanted me to come and assist in the completion of that. And I dare say that we were the first state in Africa to do an ERP.
And the very first state in Africa.
And we finished that before the city of New York.
Really?
Yes, Lagos State went live with 11 modules in 2008. The city of New York went live in 2012.
4 years after.
4 years after. And
to know.
It's the success rate of ERP around the world is 10%.
To the layman out there, ERP, what
ERP is enterprise resource planning. It gives you an helicopter view of the whole system. So we have modules like account receivable, so that anything that the state government is doing is computerized and can be seen, can be tracked, and can be audited easily. So it's complex. That's my point. It's complex. So for a state, under then Ashwani Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to have completed such a program on time, on budget, is a major achievement. And that's part of the things that has galvanized the economy of Lagos to where we are today. So we build roads across the state. So that's why we understand the geography. We know Ijagemo, we know Ijedodo, we know all over the place.
And I'm aware Mr. Sanwoolu also studied surveying.
Exactly, yes.
So you have
And the
the
land,
back.
absolutely. And you see why it's important for us.
Yes.
Part of our agenda is we need to do a lot of land reforms. We need to be able to look at how we create investment, wealth out of land, all of our blighted areas. Badia, Ijora, Amukoko, Ilaje, the blighted areas that are like a bit of a slum, Ijora, Badia,
yes.
So we need to recreate those places. Yeah. Apart from regeneration, we need to also be able to give value. So from a dead asset, we need to recreate them to a life asset, such that if we come up with a proper land reform process that gives title quicker and faster, we will create asset, value will be created. And once you do that, then you can see investment. As a surveyor trained one initially before I became a finance person, right? Is to sit with our surveyors and see how we quickly come about, a geographical positioning of the place and be able to identify the real owners and give people title. Once you do that, investments will come. Because somebody has said that you have proper title that is domiciled in your name, you have a 30% value already. In our view, you have it because that's how development happens. And so people can put it together, and an asset that was not doing anything before turns to a positive asset. And that's how we're going to take it in little blocks, right, and begin to develop it. In fact, we want to take it to as high as the audacious one. Was it possible for us to give reference title to even shops?
Really?
So yeah, because people need to unlock their investment. Somebody sits in a 25 square meter shop, right, and they have assets of 2 million naira, right, and you just need a cash flow of 300,000, or 500,000 to replenish or to retool yourself, and you're sitting on something. If you have a title on it, you can actually leverage that. You can go to and say, you see, this is my shop. You see, I have stock, but I just need, because sometimes cash is king. Yeah, right. That's what we're taught. And put it on the table. They see that you are the owner. Give you the money. Once they give you the money, you can do a lot more. You can do a lot, and that's how development happens. That's how investment happens anywhere in the world. And those are the innovations that we will be bringing, to the table.
To the fore.
Yes.
This takes me to a question that has been burning in my heart. Hear the two of you talk. You seem to belong to the school of thought that says too much emphasis on corruption. Let's develop the economy. I belong to that school of thought that if we develop economy, then the people that are thinking corruption is the way to go, they wouldn't. Our economy has to be fully tapped. Tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, in your head, you need to sort of like unlock a lot of things, right? In your head. What people want, they want transparency. They want you to be able to communicate. They want you to be able to say to them, what are your plans, and transparently see a process that they can verify. And once you do that, right, mistakes can happen. Things can go wrong. But the fact that you have communicated, right, and people see your genuineness going forward, right, even if you need to review a transaction, it won't be from the act that you're a corrupt person, right? It will be from the act of, I told you that these are the things we've seen, but naturally a few things happen, and this is how we'll take it. Once we begin to see real development that touches the life, we are making sure that your development is the greatest good for the greatest number. You are not myopic. You are not, a governor that is so specific just to a few people. And you are transparent in your development. You spread it around and let value be created. You see people taken out of poverty, the poorest of the poor, people that then issues around. You don't even have a space. We are people that have been content in our life. We've been blessed. God has helped us, right? And this unique opportunity will certainly not let it go by.
So you're telling Nigerians that you seeking this office to add value to the lives of Lagosians.
We're seeking this office to change the life of Lagosians, to bring about positive development, service, not for self, for service, to truly really be able to serve our people genuinely, having the experience God has given us, understanding the terrain that we want to get ourselves into, and being appreciative of what are the collaborative tendencies we need. Who are the people that can help us? The private sectors are the engines of growth. How do we collaborate with them? Both of us have come with contacts that we have. So let's put it on the table and let's hit the ground running from day one.
Thank you, Mr. Sanwoolu. My next question will go to Dr. Hamzat. Having heard all you said, the question that really comes to my mind is, out of your slogan, a greater Lagos is possible. I move around, I see another one. Let's join hands together to evolve a greater Lagos. And this rings so often in my head because our program is a greater Nigeria. So I kept on saying a greater Lagos, dovetailing into a greater Nigeria. How do you intend complementing the efforts of Mr. Sanwoolu, if he wins, to achieving a greater Lagos that the two of you have been talking about?
Well, I think it's pretty easy. Those that have listened to us have heard about what we call THEME, which is THEME. The idea is so that we can be responsible to the people and they can actually ask us questions on those 5 pillars. So the T stands for traffic management and transportation. The H is health and environment. The E is education and technology. M is making Lagos a 21st century economy. And E is entertainment and tourism. 194 kilometers of beachfront in Lagos.
Okay.
There are 2 areas around the world that have the point. It's Florida and Lagos. So the reality is we need to work a lot more to bring more people to Lagos. And that's why we need to build the roads, because those areas are destination. People must be able to get there. And therefore we'll be able to build those infrastructure that can attract people to all those areas. We have the slave trade channel, we have the point of no return, we have the market, we have the first story building in Nigeria and Badagry. So we are blessed with all these details that we will make sure that at least we have it. And like I said, we have in Lagos we have the GIS, geographic information that we built that allows us to be able to map every inch of land in Lagos, every inch. Therefore, like I said, we'll be able to unlock that resource that God has given us, which is our land. It's our land and then our waterfront. So we have the bathymetric chart of all the waters in Lagos, all the creeks. We know the depth, so that we know that if we want to actually channel for water transportation, we know what to do. So, and those are the details of information that we have that sort of enhance our possibility of doing all these things that we promised.
Thank you, Doctor. I would ask Mr. Sanwoolu the same question because you're the visionary.
Yeah, Nigeria truly really needs to be great. We need to. We can't just lip service that we are the giant of in Africa, giant of the sun. We need to, and we need to reflect in all of our spheres of life.
Yes.
And that's why we've said to ourselves, for us to make our Lagos, your Lagos greater, right? A few things need to happen, right? Events need to happen, right? Changes need to happen in something. So that's why we've sat down, haven't done research, not just sitting in our office, right? Haven't done opinion poll, haven't gone around asking questions. What do people want us to do at this point in time that will help them create wealth and do well in all of the things they found themselves? Or even if you don't have the opportunity, what are the things you want government to do for you to have a better life for yourself? And that's why we creatively came up with that team. We creatively came up with, we could have had 20 different things, but we wanted it to be articulate, we wanted it to be something that is measuring, we wanted something that is focused, that people can hold us to, and it's smart, it's something you can count on your fingertips. And it falls out from all of the economic processes we've been doing since 1999. But let us target this one strategically and leapfrog it, because if we do, we will only take Lagos forward quicker and faster. So we said traffic management and traffic, like Dr. Hamzat rightly said, it's called Project T. We thought of a word that everybody can remember, everybody can hone.
And the theme is the THEME.
So it's ownership. And haven't done the research, Lagosians, what do you want us to do and solve now, yesterday? Traffic management. So it's traffic management and transportation. On transportation, a lot of things will happen there. Rail, water, road. On the very next one, which is health and environment, a lot of things need to happen there. Let us collaborate with the private sector, the health institute. We've got about 300 and something primary, secondary, and tertiary. The private sector has about 3,000. Let's join the two together and have an health insurance scheme where health will be accessible, will be affordable. The people that are vulnerable, that cannot pay, government will come in and intervene and do it for them. On the environment side, waste management has become an issue. Let us bring about waste to wealth. How do we clear up the refuse? How do we bring about a clear, clean environment for our people? How do we manage flooding in Lagos? How do we increase water supply? All of them under our environment space, right? Take it on, education and technology. Femi is an expert in both, having been commissioner for education and for science and tech, and also a technology person. But it's not just we're just reading out this thing. We believe that technology is one of the strongest enabler that we can use to leapfrog our state. Be it in health, we need technology. Be it in education, we need technology. Be it in security, we need technology. Be it in judiciary, we need technology everywhere. Right, and we've seen it. It's the fourth world revolution now, and we need to catch up. And we're going to be heavy on it. But the background of it is to make sure that we're providing quality education for our children, especially for the vulnerable, the poorest of the poor. Internet and all of the things that come with it shouldn't be a luxury. It should be something that they should have access to. So we're collaborating with all of the telcos and everybody that plays in that place, and ensure that we can create a Lagos that looks like a mesh, where you can, it's plug and play. Even in our vehicles that are public buses, put free Wi-Fi there. And we've started, even on our campaign trail, we've dotted free Wi-Fi in a few higher institutions in Lagos, and it's working live even as we speak. Right, so we're not just mounting it, we've started implementing. So education and technology, teachers training, in renovations of all the schools that need improvement, collaborating with the private sector, all the private schools, and see how we can recreate them and talk, serious conversations with them. Taking on to the end, which is making Lagos a 21st century. That speaks to the private sector more. And what are the things they require for them to do more business? They want security, they want power, they want housing, and they want infrastructure. Right. So the moment you do that for them, their business will not only blossom, they will take further risk. Taking risk meaning that they will take from their money and do investment. When they do investment, they employ.
Very true.
When they employ, unemployment goes down. So it's a chicken and egg. You have to think through it very well. Power, we're working with the discourse to ensure that we should not lip service this thing. What is the problem? How can we help you? And we've started closing up. We've started identifying what are the gray areas we need to improve upon and bring about power like yesterday to our people. Security, we're wrapping it up again. We've been involved before, let's wrap it up. In terms of restructuring Nigeria, if they give us state police like yesterday, we will literally take it and we'll fund it very well. So those are some of the things we're doing. Infrastructure, Femi has talked about it. Major roads, we need to open them. But that reference is critical. Let's finish it. It's an international road that we need, and a few strategic roads in different areas. And the last E, which is your space, you have talked about extensive on tourism, and so that we also look at sports. If we believe that all of these things, if we put them on the front burner, Lagos will leapfrog to a level. Lagos will leap, because we need to catch up. We need to leapfrog, and we're taking Lagos to a greater height. We're taking Lagos to a level that it will become an envy for everyone, where the poor will do well, their health will be improved, their education will be improved, the businessmen will have access to government, they will have access, ease of doing business. Will bring about processes that will make sure that each time they come to any government offices, right, they have a good taste, and all of the time is a better taste that I enjoy. We still had meetings with some arm of the public service yesterday, and we still continue in those conversations to say to them that we've started making commitments on their behalf to ensure that we're in this together. We need to enter the same train and implement all of these things that we're promising in Washington together as public officers. And mind you, we have worked with them. We know them and we know how to speak their language, that they will also be committed. And both of us as partners in the development of Lagos, we can bring about a positive development in the state, so that you probably need to relocate back
to Lagos, not Abuja anymore. We'll call it a day. Thank you for joining us. They've not finished all the plans they got for you and I. They're still going to churn it out, and so make it a day next week when we bring you the concluding part of this exposition. God bless you. I remain your uncle, Omotayo Omotosho. Towards a greater Nigeria it is. We've been talking about towards a greater Lagos.